Hello, you're welcome once again to the third section of today's class. In the last section, we're able to look at some modern functions that have been introduced in JavaScript. And for those of you joining us for the first time or see my face for the first time, this is Prince Lee. You're welcome to my channel, Prince Lee Tech Mastery, and I remain your favorite ICT instructor, Okolo Chukwumbi Prince, the senior ICT instructor. Today, now we're going to be looking at we have been looking at JavaScript, but we need to take a look at some extra upgrades that have been prepared to HTML5 to help make your programming life more interesting and easier. Yeah, we're going to be looking at some extra, introductions to that. And that is exactly what we're going to be dealing with right now. We're going to be looking at certain things that have been introduced in HTML5, which we haven't looked at already. It looks like we left HTML5, jumped to CSS, enter JavaScript. Yeah, we are going back to HTML5 again to look at some things that we didn't look at initially in HTML5, because now there are certain features in HTML5 that cannot operate without the help of JavaScript. And that is exactly why these features have to be kept until you have gotten to a particular level in your knowledge of JavaScript before you can then learn those features. And that's why our curriculum is designed such that every user can be able to understand it as they were. So now join me as we look at HTML5 Canvas. We look at how to draw, how to store data locally in a user's browser and retrieve the data later. We're going to look at a couple of exciting things in today's class. Yeah, we're going to be looking at a couple of exciting things in this particular episode. Honestly, you don't want to miss any part of it. I want to encourage you, be a part of this, and you will surely enjoy it. Let's get into the class. Thank you. Okay, now, so we're going to be looking at the HTML canvas and web storage in HTML5. Now, what do we say? We say the canvas element is used to draw graphics on the fly via JavaScript. Now, you see, like I said, there are certain features. There are certain features in HTML5, okay? There are a couple of features in HTML5 that you cannot properly access or manipulate without the help of JavaScript. And one of those things is the canvas element. And we said the canvas element is used to draw graphics. There are times when you need to draw graphics on a website. And sometimes, you may even be building a form and users have to sign, on that particular form. You may not be able to have a printed copy, but you can get them to sign directly on the web page, process the image, and store it. You can be able to get them to that, and that is where the canvas element comes in. So we say canvas element is used to draw graphics on the fly via JavaScript. You can use the canvas element to draw paths, to draw boxes, to draw circles, to draw text, and add images. Colors and transparency can be controlled using the RGBA method. Properties inside the canvas rendering context. So the canvas just provides you with the ability to draw graphics on the fly using JavaScript. You can be able to listen to mouse events, how a mouse moves from point A to point B, and draw a graphic with the help of the canvas element. And that is exactly what we're going to be looking at, properties inside the canvas rendering element. And that's what the canvas is for. And then you can also add colors using the RGBA property. RGBA stands for red, green, blue, and alpha. Red, green, and blue in the sense that red, green, and blue are the three primary colors that we have. And we know that primary colors are the only natural occurring colors. Every other color are a product of mixture of the primary colors in various orders, or mixture of results of these primary colors with one or two of the other primary colors. But the root of it is that all colors have a mother, and the mother is the primary color. So, and the three primary colors are the red, the green, and the blue. They are naturally occurring colors in the environment, and you can already see that already. It's very clear. The sky is blue. You can see leaves are green, blood is red. Okay, so you can see that obviously these are naturally occurring colors in the environment. That's why they are the primary colors. Every other color that we see today was created out of the primary colors, either directly or indirectly. So that's what the RGB stands for. The A, in the other hand, means alpha. Alpha means the level of transparency of that particular color. That's what the A means, the level of transparency, whereby when it comes to transparency, 1.0 is the highest, and every 1.0 is the highest. With 1.0, it means that there is no transparency at all. But if you can have 0.3, 0.2, 0.1, all the way to 0.9, 0.95 to whatever. But the truth is that the lowest amount after the transparency can be is 0, that means totally invisible, and 1, fully visible. That is what it can be. So the A there means alpha, which means that it's a measurement of the transparency of the color which is being used. Okay, now web storage and now also HTML5 allow, it's only in HTML5 that the canvas element exists. The canvas element was brought in HTML5 to allow users to be able to draw on the fly using JavaScript. Now a couple of other things were brought into HTML5. We have the storage, web storage API, and IndexedDB. Now, here initially, there was no way developers could store certain things inside the user's browser for easy retrieval later, okay, without making use of server-side code. So that's where we come with the web storage API, with the web storage API and IndexedDB. So HTML5 provided a means by which you can now store with the web storage, and we have two. We have about three. The first one is local storage, stores data with no expiration date. The data will not be deleted when the browser is closed. So when you use local storage to store data in HTML5, it stores the data. It stores the data without an expiring date, and it is not, even if you close the browser and open it again, that data will remain stored inside the browser. Take note of that. That's for the local storage. Why the session storage stores data for one session. When any data you store in session storage will be lost as soon as that particular tab is closed. That's the way the session storage works. Local storage, close the browser, open it, the data remains there. But session storage, on the other hand, when you close the tab, the session storage get cleared. Everything you stored disappears. Now, if you must have seen this happening in some site, but you didn't know what was happening. Like when you enter a website and pick dark mode, like Gmail, you can go to Gmail now and pick a theme. And when you pick that thing, you discover that every time you come back to Gmail on that particular system, it is that same thing that they're using for you. That is a storage. It's already stored in your local storage. And as it's stored in that your local storage, each time you come, Gmail checks for the value of that particular theme and fetches it from there. And that is for local storage. So that is how local storage works. Then we have the IndexedDB. We say it's a low-level API for client-side storage of significant amounts of structured data, including files and blobs. So the IndexedDB is just like a database that is a part of your browser. It's a low-level API for client-side. You can store large amounts of data. You can use local storage and session storage to store little amounts of data, like maybe a name. You can use it to store a name, store CSS declarations, store HTML declarations, like the example I gave about Gmail. When you choose a theme in Gmail, and Gmail, each time you come on that particular system, Gmail keeps giving you back your Gmail with that same. But with the IndexedDB now, you can store larger amounts of data. You can even store pictures. You can store normal files, like you can store documents, etc. inside the user's browser. So that's what the IndexedDB is for. Native apps versus, now what is different between native apps and HTML5? Native apps are built specifically for a platform. You can see that now HTML5, because of the capabilities of HTML5 is able to also build mobile apps. You must take note of this. Yes, HTML5 has the capability to also be used to build mobile apps successfully. So now, what is really the difference between HTML5 and native apps? Native apps are built specifically for a platform. The platform could be an iOS platform or an Android, using native language like Swift or Java. And now a very good example of IndexedDB, before I continue here, is, for instance, now you look at, many of you have Bible or Quran app in your phone. When you open the Bible app or Quran app in your phone, you can see that even if you don't have internet, you can still access the Bible, you can still access the Quran. It's IndexedDB that is doing that very job. It's a small weight database that is used to that can store significant amounts of data as compared to the local storage and the session storage. So you can build a Bible, a Quran app, or a daily manner app, or any kind of app you can build, and you want to store certain kind of information directly inside the user's hardware, so that the user can make use of inside the user hardware, so that the user does not need internet to access those information. That is when you make use of IndexedDB. So back to what I was saying. What is different between native apps and HTML5 apps? Number one, native apps are built specifically for a platform. You can build a native app for either an iOS platform or an Android platform using native languages. For iOS, you use Swift. We're going to have tutorials on Swift in future. And for Android, you use Java. Okay, HTML5 apps are cross-platform web applications running in a browser. HTML5 apps, on the other hand, They are cross-platform. They are not built specifically for Android or specifically for iOS. They are built to work on any platform. They can even work on smart TVs. They can work on desktops. They can work on Android. They can work on iOS. You don't need to, that's how they are. So that is why we said they are cross-platform by nature. Advantage: native apps offer better performance and deep hardware integration. Yes, with the help of native apps, you get a better performance, like your apps like your WhatsApp, like your Twitter, your Instagram. So many of these apps that are native, purely native apps, games on your phone, you see the performance is better because of the fact that they are running directly on the hardware of the device, and you can easily interact with any hardware of the device, like camera, like front camera, back camera, different kind of cameras of that particular device, or various things on that device. You can interact with it. Even the contact, you can interact with it. You can interact with images in the device. You can interact with various things on the device when you are dealing with native apps. So it's very close to the hardware. But HTML5 offers faster development time, cross-platform compatibility, and instant updates without App Store approval. So in the case of HTML5, there is no deep hardware integration, of course, which is the only thing you have to give up, and the performance is not as good as that of a native app. Okay, but it offers a faster development time, cross-platform compatibility. It's compatible across various platforms, whether Android, iOS, whatever. And also, you can provide instant updates to apps without going through App Store approvals. Now, this is the advantage of HTML5 apps. So let us look at the next. We're looking at the next classwork. So we're going to be looking at what we call we're going to create a new folder in our XAMPP, of course, Canvas storage. Okay, I'm going to call my own canvas. Okay, I'll call my own canvas. I'm going to call my own canvas. Canvas. Okay, now after we do canvas, of course, we must follow our usual pattern. Okay, like I said, you have to create CSS, you have to create JS. You need to follow this pattern. I'm taking my time to go through this process so that you will get used to it. So you create a new folder, CSS. Okay, create a new folder, JS. Of course, create a new folder, IMGs. I always like to have that, IMGs. Okay, and of course, we have to create our files. Close all of this, guys. And we say the first file is index.html. So we create index.html file, save as. So I'm going back, canvas. So I'm going to create my index.html. You see, I created it directly without being in any subfolder. And you save it here. And then we're going to also go further and create new style.css, save as. Open your CSS folder this time and say style, and then come here, select cascading style sheets file, style.css. Okay, and then we name the next file app.js. Okay, so we say file, new file, save as. Call it app.js. Okay, and then you save. So when you save it like this, now we, of course, our manuals, like I say, we always attach our manual to the description of each and every one of our videos. It's very important to us that you have the manual, because we want you to learn. One, we do not want our videos to be too long. This is one of the reasons why we prepare our codes before time and teach about the code and what we are doing per time. That is our own teaching technique here, and that is our pattern, how we work here, because we do not want the videos to be too long, and we don't want the videos to get boring over time. Okay, so first copy index.html and paste here. Okay, and then we move further, style.css, you copy it also, paste it here. Okay, and then the main thing that is our focus here, the JavaScript, we create it. here. Perfect. So the software we're going to write, guess this is what the software we do, so you can understand when we start test running. We said you are building a digital contract signing interface. The user must be able to draw their signature on a canvas and save it. We will use the HTML5 Canvas events and local storage to preserve the signature data URL. That's exactly what we're going to be doing. This was our last one. So let's look at it. Localhost/canvas. Let's see what we have. Canvas. Okay, let's give an example. Clear. Let's clear. So let's say, okay, this is I can save to local storage. Okay, signature saved. Okay, and if I clear, if I say load, it will bring it back. Okay, you can see. So let us just see how did we achieve this fit. Let's look at that. Of course, we need to look at the HTML a bit here. So you see, I won't have to go through all of this, but then look at what is really the power here. You see, we created a canvas element. This element, we have never used it before in all our HTML journey. The canvas element is what is responsible for making it possible that users can draw on your websites, can draw images or diagrams on the fly. So we have the canvas. Look at the canvas, and every time you declare the canvas, it must have an ID. This is compulsory because why? The canvas cannot work on its own. For the canvas to work, it needs JavaScript. With the help of JavaScript, it can listen to mouse events, okay, and be able to work. That is the way the canvas can work. So ID equal to what? Signature pad. Then we say width is equal to 500. You must always create a width and a height. Each time you declare the canvas, always create a width and a height. It is compulsory. If there is no width and height, you will not be able to see what you are doing. So we created a width equal to 500 and a height equal to what? 200. By default, it will use pixel. So you can make use of that. You don't need to use CSS in this case, but always create, always declare this. But the most important thing here is the ID. Have an ID for it. And then we created buttons. You see, we have never used the button before. The button is used for creating buttons on web page. And we have a button with the ID clear button, which is this clear, this one for clearing. We have that. Okay. We have the clear button. We have the save to local storage button. You can see the button here, and you see the ID save btn. We have the ID load saved signature, and of course we have script src equal to js/app.js. That's the JavaScript file that we're working on. Our major focus is on the JavaScript because I won't want us to spend too much time here. So the first thing we do when you the first thing you must do when you want to work on a canvas element, that you must create a canvas variable. We say cost canvas equal to document.getElement by ID. The ID is gotten from here. You can see this ID signature pad. Your own might be mouse pad. Your own might be curating pad, notes pad, whatever you call it. Document.getElement by ID. You can see signature pad. Then you have const cts is equal to. Now the next thing is that you create a ctx. This is cts means context. You can say context. Okay, this can be any name, but we are using this name because it is easier to use. It is easier for us to remember this name, and the name properly explains what we're teaching. So we create a constant for the context, and the context is what? A 2D context. So we have canvas. This canvas, because as soon as you say it's a canvas element, automatically when you do it like this, automatically it inherits all the methods of the canvas in JavaScript. So we have canvas.getContext 2D. So we're making it clear that this is a two-dimensional image. It's not a three-dimensional image. So you have canvas.getContext 2D. Please always use 2D. This canvas is actually a work in progress in HTML5, and there is not yet a proper full support for 3D images. So please always use 2D. Okay. And then the next thing you say, let drawing equal to false, because you want to control, you don't want to draw the thing automatically. You want the end user to be the one to do the drawing by themselves. So that's why we say let drawing be equal to false. So now we now go further, we now move on. We now say drawing properties. Now the next thing, ctx, this very variable where we store the context, does stroke style is equal to RGBA. This is where we are dealing with color, and we said it's black with a slight transparency. So we made that's what the stroke style we're talking about is, as you can see here. Let me show us. As you can see, what I'm doing here, you can see it is black in color, right? Good. So let that be clear. So cts.stroke style will say RGBA in brackets 000. You know, when the whole colors are 000, it becomes black. And then we have 0.8. 0.8 is the alpha. That is what saying the transparency is 0.8. So like I told you, the transparency is always measured in 0.1 means there is no transparency at all. It's fully visible. While 0 means it is totally invisible. So 0.8 is okay to strike a kind of balance between the invisibility and the visibility of the file. Then the line width, if you wanted to make the line, you know, fat, if I increase the line, you can see how the line is here. So let's try and make it 10 now and see what will happen. Over here, you can make this to decide how fat or how this will decide how fat. You see how fat my stroke is? Yes, this because of I increased it to 10. So let's take it back to 3. So just depend on how line style is for how thick you want how thick you actually want the width of your lines to be. The higher the number, the more thicker it will be. Then of course we add the canvas.add event listener because the user is the one that will control this. We say add event listener, mouse down. This is one of the event listener. We then set the drawing equal to true. And then we then say ctx.begin parts dot move to e.offset x and e.offset y. So it will keep what we're just basically telling it here is that it should start doing the drawing as the user moves with the mouse, and wherever as the user moves, let it move with the end user. And then we have another event is that mouse move. As the user moves, if drawing cts.line to e.offset, what we're doing here in this event that we're basically saying as the mouse moves, as the user moves with the mouse, let's follow the user. As long as this is down, let it follow the user. And then we have the other two events, mouse up. We have the mouse up. If the mouse is up, of course, there's no drawing taking place. If the mouse is out, there's no drawing taking place. So let no drawing be automatically made to take place. This is exactly what is happening here. Okay, so we removed that, we dealt with that. And then we now go further to the web storage integration. How do we handle web storage here? Yeah, we now say document.get element by ID. We have the save button. You can see our save button here. You can see save BTN. And okay, it's a very simple code, but sometimes it looks complicated. It's sometimes complicated. A very simple code that looks complicated at times. Okay, for saving things. So you say document.get element by ID. You say add event listener. Click when that button is clicked. When the save button is clicked, this is what that should happen. Consave. We now say local storage dot get item. That is the current. If something has already been saved inside the local storage, get the item, and we're saving the item. The item is saved signature. That's the name. If saved, let image equal to what? New image. ing.unload is equal to cts.clear rectangle, canvas.width, canvas.height, cts.draw image, img. So what we are saying now is that okay, I was dealing with this is a clear button. Okay, I was dealing with the save button. Sorry. I'm so fast. I'm so sorry. Let's get back all the way to here. So now we say document.get element by ID save button dot add event listener. So we now have the data URL where we are saving it to. Of course, we just created this. You will not know. The data URL is not something you can display to the end user, but it is saved in your browser somewhere. So const data URL is equal to canvas.toData URL. So whatever the user draw, we are using this method to convert it to a data URL. Okay, and then we now say local storage just set item. With the help of this, we now say this is when you are saving something. We're now setting the item. We create and it takes 2 arguments. This method takes 2 arguments. The name of the item you want to save in case you want to retrieve it and what you are saving. This could be a name, this could be anything, but in our case now, it is the data URL of what was drawn. And then we alert the user that the signature has been saved. Now, if we want to clear, we can also clear it. We just click the canvas button. When we click the clear button, we clear it. We clear everything that was drawn by the end user. That one is very simple and straightforward. That is, we clear the X, the Y axis, and then restore back the width and the height of the canvas. And then we say document.getInItem to load what you have saved, because we say contain local storage or get item. You just have two methods for local storage. You have the get item and the set item. Set item is used to save an item, and it takes two arguments: the name of the item and what you want to save. That's for save get set item. While get item, on the other hand, is used to retrieve what have been saved, and it only takes one argument: the name of what you saved. Okay, so now if save, let img equal to new image, img.onload is equal to this. Okay, and it automatically load back whatever it is that, and draw image img. What we just did here is that if it checks, it will just retrieve it and convert back the data URL it's stored into a proper image, and it will appear there. And if there is nothing, it's going to tell you that the signature was not found, and that is exactly what is happening here. So you can see what's going on there. Now, even if I close my browser entirely, even if I close this tab and I come back again, even if I close the tab, let's say I close the tab, I say localhost/canvas, and I come back again. If I say load saved signature, it is going to bring back that signature that has already been saved. Okay, if I create another one now, tell it to, if I add this and say it should save, it's going to save it. Now let's clear and then ask it to load save signature. It's going to keep storing them and storing them. Even if you draw different signatures, you store all of them and keep retrieving them. So it only uses two methods. Local storage only has two methods, and that is the set item method, which takes two arguments: the name you want to use in identifying what you're saving and what you want to save, and the get item, which is used for retrieval and takes only one argument, and that is what the name of what you saved already. You cannot get what you did not save. Okay, and that is how it works. Okay, I hope this is very clear. I know it's a very short class, but it is important that you understand. So now here we're able to look at the canvas elements and local storage and session storage. Of course, the session storage just works like the local storage. I didn't look at that, but then session storage also has two methods: get item and set item. Okay, you use the set item to, okay, let's just quickly look. Let's do that quickly. Let's just do that immediately, so we don't bypass it. Let's do this. Okay, I'm going to do a little change here. This is going to become session storage. Okay, we're going to do session storage the set item, and we're going to have, okay, and session storage or get item. Session storage does not store. If you close the tab, it disappears. Okay, so clear. Let me customize this button and call it save to section storage, save to session storage, as a demonstration for us. Okay, let us see. So it's now called save to session storage. This thing I will do now is in session storage, and then let's say save to session storage is saved. Don't mind the alert. Okay, and if we refresh, if we say load saved signature, it can bring back what was saved in the session storage automatically. So you see, it's the same method, but the only thing is that now, but look at what is going to happen now. If I were to close this tab now and I open this tab again, you're going to see that we will not be able to access whatever we saved, unlike the local storage, localhost/canvas. Okay, if we say load saved signature, no signature found, you can see that, and this is because of the fact that we used a session storage. But with a local storage, even if you close the browser and come back, it is going to be saved. Okay, so we can take it back to local storage, and the set item and local storage. So you see, it is the same method that it uses. The only difference is that for the session storage, in case you are trying to store something that you will not be needing from the user, when the user has already left your browser, when they come back, it will not be a problem for them to retrieve that information back. You use the session storage to enter that information back. But if it's something that you want to retrieve even after the user have left your website for 5 years and comes back on that same device, you make use of the local storage. Okay, yeah. That's for that. So now, so today we have been able to look at the canvas, and we have been able to look at the various ways of storing data locally with HTML5. We have looked at the web, we have looked at local storage, and we explained that local storage can store data permanently, meaning that even if the browser is restarted, even if the system is restarted, when you come back, whatever you store in local storage will always be available for retrieval. But whatever you store in session storage will not be available to retrieval when you come back, when you close the tab of that browser. It is only available for that particular session. You can use that. Session storage is advisable for when you are dealing with security tokens that you give to end user. Maybe you are dealing with a highly secure and sensitive web application. You can use some special tokens, some token. You can store some tokens for that particular user session, and those tokens will just be there for that particular session when they are still on your website. And when they are done with your website, the tokens disappear. Okay. And local storage is useful for things that you don't want the user to have to do over and over again. Like the example, like when you build a website that has both a dark mode and a light mode. If the user turns on dark mode, you don't expect that each time the user come, they have to still choose light mode or dark mode. Rather, you can just store those information, the CSS information, etc., into the local storage. And when the user comes back again, just retrieve it and take them to dark mode because they chose dark mode. Okay. Now, this brings us to the end of this section of today's class. Honestly, I hope you enjoyed yourself and I hope you understood what we did. I always encourage that you study more, and our manuals are always made available for everyone for everyone that is a part of this class. We'll have our manuals attached to each and every one of the videos. And the truth of the matter is that as you do that, you get to understand better. HTML is such a sweet and interesting language. No one can actually teach you all the tags in HTML, but we can provide you with a proper foundation that you can build upon, and you can become better and bigger than anything. I will still remain your favorite instructor, Okolochukwuemebe Prince, the senior ICT instructor. Have a lovely day and join me in the last session. Thank you.